Oh yes, when you get a Democratic senator on Fox News and it upsets Daddy Donnie Trump, you know you're on the right track. Because in Donald's myopic hypocrisy of himself, the grass is always greener. He just always switches which side of the hill. And in this breaking story, you're going to find out exactly why Donald got so upset at the senator that was on Fox News, because I deserve a Nobel Peace Prize. Don't ever compare me to anyone. He can't stand that. I'm going to show that to you in a few seconds. But let's hear Mike Johnson on his opinion of the Iranian strike, and then actually some real news from outside of Trumposphere. Take a quick listen to this.
President Clinton said, quote, "I believe all the Western nations have an overriding interest in containing the threat posed by Iran," unquote. President Obama, he said, "I have stated that Iran will never be allowed to obtain a nuclear weapon," unquote. President Biden, quote, "We will not," let me say again, "we will not allow Iran to acquire a nuclear weapon." But it was President Trump who did more than talk. He acted. His decisive action led to a weakened and vulnerable Iran that gives them no other choice than to come to the table, which they refused to do in good faith before.
Well, yeah, he did act, Mike. That doesn't necessarily mean he accomplished or that anything was actually completely obliterated, which might be why this story could potentially bother Donald. This one.
Now, amid the uncertainty over the fate of Iran's stockpile of highly enriched uranium, IAEA Chief Rafael Grossi has said that Iran will be able to produce enriched uranium in a matter of months. During an interview with CBS News, Grossi also said that despite damage to Iranian nuclear facilities, some is still standing. On the question of whether Iran was able to relocate some or all of its enriched uranium before the strikes, Grossi admitted that there was no clarity at this point, but he did not rule out the possibility of Iran having moved some of the uranium stockpile. However, U.S. President Donald Trump disagreed with Grossi's assessment. In an interview with Fox News, Trump said he did not think the stockpile had been moved, as the U.S. did not give much notice to Iran before striking its nuclear facility.
And yet in this breaking story, when Democratic Senator Chris Coons went on Fox News, the outcome of that interview irritated Daddy Donald with, the thinnest skin and the largest insecurity in the history of any American president, caused him to just lose his mind once again on Truth Social. Check out this story.
Trump explodes at claim he's copying Obama's stupid plan in late night post. A Democratic senator seems to have struck a nerve after he pointed out that the Trump administration's attempts to negotiate a lasting peace deal with Iran look an awful lot like the Obama-era agreement that President Donald Trump abandoned during his first term in office. During a Sunday appearance on Fox News, Senator Chris Coons of Delaware said the administration needed to give Congress a full intelligence picture of what happened during the June 21st strikes on Iran's nuclear program and needed to share a comprehensive strategy on Iran. I'll just note that President Trump, by press accounts, is now moving toward negotiation and offering Iran a deal that looks somewhat similar to the Iran deal that was offered by Obama. Tens of billions of dollars of incentives and reduced sanctions in exchange for abandoning their nuclear program, Coons said. Trump fired back in a late-night Truth Social post. Tell phony Democrat Senator Chris Coons that I am not offering Iran anything, unlike Obama, who paid them billions under the stupid Road to a Nuclear Weapon JCPOA, which would now be expired. Nor am I even talking to them since we totally obliterated their nuclear facilities. The attack came despite Coons generally praising Trump during the interview and calling his appearance at last week's NATO summit a success. Adopted in 2015, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action called for sanctions against Iran to be phased out in exchange for Tehran agreeing to dismantle critical infrastructure, halt new research, restrict enrichment capabilities, and allow international monitoring. Trump abruptly withdrew from the agreement in 2018, leading Iran's nuclear program to surge ahead. When the president returned to office in January, he began trying to negotiate a new deal that one arms expert called a dollar store JCPOA. Ever since the U.S. joined Israel's attacks on Iran by bombing the nuclear sites at Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan, the president has insisted that Iran's nuclear program was obliterated and that he doesn't care if the administration reaches a comprehensive peace agreement with Iran, CNN reported. The United Nations chief nuclear inspector, however, said the damage to Iran's nuclear program was severe, but not total, and that the program could up and running again within months, the New York Times reported. As Coons pointed out in his interview with Fox News, it's not clear whether Iran was able to move almost 900 pounds of highly enriched uranium before the strikes. It would fit in the back of an F-150 pickup truck, and there are open-source pictures of trucks pulling up to two of these facilities and leaving afterwards, Coons said. Despite Trump's public posturing, many of his advisors believe that a longer-term deal with Iran is needed to cement the ceasefire agreement that Iran and Israel reached after the U.S. strikes. CNN reported last week that the administration was floating various proposals to try to bring Tehran back to the negotiating table, including offering $20 billion to $30 billion in funding from an Arab ally to rebuild the country's civilian nuclear program. Other ideas included potentially removing some sanctions and allowing Tehran to access $6 billion of assets sitting in foreign bank accounts, or enlisting a Gulf state to replace the Fordo nuclear facility with a non-enrichment program.
This is the issue we're going to continue to face. Not just splitting hairs, but, hey, look at what I did. The grass is greener over here. Commonly used for marriages or dating, as to whether or not I should be single or taken, or that person's better than the one I have. Donald always wants you to believe that even if it's almost the exact carbon copy of anything done by someone previously, that if Donald does it, it's better. All while this is a man who consistently takes credit, or tries to take credit, for things other presidents have done, like the Veterans Act, when it was done by someone else long before him. You're dealing with a 9-year-old petulant child, and as we sit here right now, we still do not have the exact information in terms of the complete damage report of the nuclear sites and whether or not Iran got enriched uranium out beforehand. We don't know, but Donald likes to say, I think, and therefore it's supposed to be law. Well, Donnie, it's not. You guys stay frosty.